Professors, we now appreciate, some of the things in the format. Now, let's prepare the trading account. So the first thing you have to do, very, very important, and in all accounting practical questions, make sure you write the name of the business. So the new year enterprise. Okay, that's the name of the business. It should always be on top. That's the first thing you have to write before you begin your answering. Okay, we are preparing the trading account for the year ended 31st December 2024. So that's the title. You write it beautifully as well. You underline it. Then, as we said, you need 3 columns at the far right end. Okay, so let me do that. And you put the currency right on top of those 3 columns. Okay, so this is what you have to do. Then you can now begin. Per the format, you have to find your net sales first. And as we have found the net sales, we needed the sales figure first. So we'll put in our sales figure. And how much is our sales figure? 120,000. We put it at the middle column, 120,000. Then we continue to say less return inwards. Less return inwards. So less return inwards. And when you say less here, it means you are subtracting, right? So we go and pick our return inwards, which we know to be 35,000. And please, when you are doing it, make sure you arrange your figures well so that the thousands fall on the same line, the hundreds, okay, as I've done here, right? It's very important to do your arrangement of figures perfectly. Imagine somebody will come and write the 35 like this. Okay, please. You lose small marks for bonus and stuff. So make sure you arrange your figures very well. Okay. So you less it, so you have to underline, and then your next line will be your net sales. And the net sales will go under the 3rd column. Okay, under the 3rd column. And that's what we all got, 85,000. Beautiful, like that. So you have your net sales. Then you now go on to the cost of sales. The cost of sales. I think my professors may not be so much familiar with the formula. So I'll have to, or the format for now. So I'll have to, take us back so we can appreciate some of the things I'm saying. Okay, so this is the skeleton, the format we are using. So we have found our net sales. The next thing is to find the cost of sales. And per the format, you begin with your opening stock. So we are going to put in our opening stock. And where do we put our opening stock? At the middle column. So you go to the question and you pick the opening stock. Oh, I think the question should be down instead. So one of you professors should tell us the opening stock from the information here about new enterprise. Which amount is our opening stock? Yes. Oh, whoever is ready can unmute and tell us.
Opening stock is 16,000.
Okay, so opening stock is 16,000. I want to believe the date will guide you, right? Opening date, opening stock, 1st January. So that's 16,000. Then per the format, what do? We add purchases. Okay, we add purchases as you see here. Add purchases. So we go to the question and we fish out the purchases. I think the purchase figure sorry for that, professors. So purchase is 95,000. But then we have return outwards and carriage inwards to adjust. So we'll put the purchases figure at the first column. Okay. Now, if you are solving a question where there is no return outwards and carriage inwards, then you add the purchases straight. Okay. But if there are those items or even one of them, you have to put it at the first column and you adjust before you bring your net purchases. So our purchase is 95,000. I want to believe my professors appreciate the point I just made. So carriage inwards, we'll add it, and carriage inwards in the question was 5,000. So we add the 5,000 to it. And then we less return outwards. Now that one is a matter of choice. Some can less before adding the carriage inwards. It doesn't matter. Okay. So let's return outwards. Return outwards is 20,000. So that adjustment will now give you your net purchases. Your net purchases. So net purchases will now be pushed under your opening stock. I want to believe professors are following the thing chronologically. So that will be 80,000. Okay. Make sure the arrangement is done. Great. So your net purchases will now be added to your opening stock. Okay. And the figure you are going to get for that is called the cost of goods available for sale. I think that should be 96,000. So I'm just quickly going over. You put the opening stock at the middle column. You go and find your net purchases. You bring it under the opening stock. You add it to get the cost of goods available for sale. Okay. Now I indicated to you if the question has no carriage inwards or no return outwards, then you'd put the purchases straight under the opening stock to add to it. Because there are some questions there will be no carriage inwards or return outwards. If it is having one of them, that's the question had only carriage inwards, then still you need to adjust it and get the net purchases. So you push it straight here if there is none of these two items available. Okay. When you have the cost of goods available, the format says less your closing stock. So you less closing stock. And the closing stock, I think we have that figure to be the stock at 31st December, 28,000. And when we less that, we get the cost of goods sold. The cost of sold. $96,000 minus 28,000. That's 68,000. Okay, cost of goods sold. Then finally we add the direct trading expense. And the direct trading expense in this question, like I told you, is the wages, right? So you pick the wages, which is 5,000. So add wages, 5,000 to it. And that will give you your cost of sales now. Cost of sales now, which will be 73,000. So the 73,000 will be pushed to the third column under the net sales. Okay. $73,000. So you now see that it's your net sales versus your cost of sales here. And the figure you are going to get will now be your gross profit or gross loss. It is gross profit when the net sales is more than or greater than the cost of sales. And it is a gross loss if the opposite happens, right? So in this case, I think we are going to get a gross profit since the net sales is 85 and the cost of sales is 73. So we are going to get a gross profit. And how much would the gross profit be if you have done the calculation? Then that would be 12,000. And you underline it finally, and that ends your trading account. That ends your trading account. Very, very simple and very, very easy. Very, very easy when you learn the formats and you put it into practice. Okay, now I'll give some few comments and then I'll pause for questions if there are questions for me. Right. So there are some of the scenarios you may not have some of the items, like I indicated, carriage invoice, return outwards may not be there. If they are not there, push the purchases straight here. If the question has no return invoice, then your sales figure will go straight under the third column as your net sales, right? Again, the last bit is if there is no trading expense, like wages, right? Then your cost of goods sold would have come under the third column because then that will be your cost of sales. Okay, yeah, so watch out for some of these things. Having said that, there were some of the items we didn't use, something like salaries, because it is not part of your trading account. So if an item is not part of the format, please don't fix it anyway. Don't try to be a magician by fixing items that are not part of the format. So motor vehicles, you are not supposed to add it in preparing your trading account. Okay, so know the items you need to prepare your trading account and use them only. Don't add any foreign material. Thank you very much. Question time. Does the no question suggest that you understand and appreciate what we have just done? Oh, let me get some reactions from my professors. Any question? No questions. Okay. So thank you very much. I think we'll look at the profit and loss account in our next class. I think that'll be on Friday, God willing. We'll look at the profit and loss account. And then we'll combine the two. Hopefully within next week, we can finish that and also do the balance sheet. Okay. I love to teach this bit by bit. So after the trading account, we rest, we solve some examples, we go to the profit and loss account, we solve some examples. We combine the two because the two are most of the times combined. So you see something like trading and profit and loss account. Okay. Then we pick on the balance sheet. Hopefully by next week, we should wrap up on that. Then the following week, we'll look at some of the adjustments you make to this final account. Yes, Professor, a question. Please unmute.
Mr. Moore, please. I would like to ask where you got a gross profit from.
Okay.
Yes, please.
So the gross profit is the difference between the net sales. So look at the third column. If you look at the third column, it is your net sales compared to the cost of sales. Well, let me label this figure. I've not labeled this figure because we already have the title here, cost of sales, right? So most of the times, you can even put it right next to the last item, that's the add wages, right? But I'll prefer you put it on the next line. You don't necessarily need to label it because the heading cost of sales is here, right? But plenty fish does not spoil soup. So you can, if you don't want to get confused, cost of sales, right? Okay. But that will look like a repetition. You have cost of sales, but it doesn't matter. So it's your net sales minus your cost of sales. As we saw in the introduction, that in the trading account, we compare the net sales to the cost of sales. So it's the net sales minus the cost of sales, like the way you calculate profit in JHS, selling price minus cost price. So here our selling price was 85 and our cost price was 73. So the selling price is greater or more than the cost price. So we get a profit, and that's the gross profit. If the selling price was lower, then you would have gotten a negative figure, and that would be the loss, gross loss. So the gross profit is the difference between the net sales and the cost of sales. Please, is that okay?
Yes, please.
Okay. So I think that the major task on my professors is for them to pick the format. Please take your time, review it, okay, and practice more questions, and you'll be good to go. So I think I'll put one of the illustrations on the page right now for you to prepare just the trading account for me. I'll see if I can make it 2 illustrations just to test my professor's agility and ability in this new year 2025. So if there are no more comments, no more questions, we'll wrap up on today's class. Expect the 2 illustrations, and please try and submit your answers on your personal financial accounting pages to be marked. Thank you very much, professors.